My marriage is so modern, even our arguments get sponsored content. That's what I was thinking when Isla walked into our kitchen that Tuesday morning, her phone buzzing with notifications like a slot machine hitting jackpot. She had that look, the one that meant she was about to drop something big on me while pretending it was casual. "Dean, honey," she said, not looking up from her screen, "I have some news." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I paused mid-sip of my coffee. After 8 years of marriage, I'd learned to recognize the tone. It was the same one she'd used when she announced she was quitting her stable marketing job to become a travel influencer, or when she decided we needed to refinance the house to fund her PR startup. "Let me guess," I said, setting down my mug. "Another business opportunity that requires me to be supportive while you disappear for weeks?" Isla finally looked up, her green eyes sparkling with that particular brand of excitement that usually cost me money. "Jasper invited me to the Maldives. It's a work thing, he's launching a new resort partnership, and he needs someone with my expertise to document the experience." Jasper. Of course it was Jasper. Jasper Trennix had been Isla's college boyfriend, the golden boy who'd somehow managed to fail upward into becoming a tech startup CEO. They'd dated for 3 years before she met me, and according to Isla's carefully curated version of events, they'd remained good friends who occasionally collaborated on business ventures. "Your ex-boyfriend wants to take you to the Maldives," I said slowly. "And this is a work thing. Don't get jealous, Dean. It's not a good look on you." She was already scrolling through her phone again, probably looking at resort photos. "This could be huge for my career. Jasper's company is partnering with 3 major hotel chains, and they want authentic content from someone who understands luxury travel. I'm a freelance videographer. I understand authentic content better than most people. What I was looking at right now, my wife's practiced casual tone, her refusal to make eye contact, the way she was already mentally packing, wasn't authentic at all." "When?" I asked. "We leave Thursday. It's only for 5 days." "We?" "The content team. Jasper, his marketing director, a photographer, and me. Very professional." She finally looked at me directly, and I saw something flicker behind her eyes. Guilt, maybe, or excitement she was trying to hide. "Should I pack your SPF 50 or a lie detector?" I asked. Isla laughed, but it sounded forced. "Your sarcasm is showing, honey. Look, I know this might seem weird, but Jasper and I are both adults. We're both married. This is business." "Right. Business. Because nothing says professional collaboration like flying to one of the world's most romantic destinations with your ex-boyfriend." "What does Elara think about this?" I asked. Elara was Jasper's wife, an interior designer I'd met exactly twice at dinner parties. She'd seemed nice enough, quiet, observant, the type who noticed everything but said little. "I'm sure she's fine with it. She trusts Jasper." The way Isla said it made me wonder if Elara should. After Isla left for work, I sat in our kitchen staring at the half-empty coffee pot. Our house felt different somehow, like the air pressure had changed. I'd been feeling it for months, little shifts in Isla's behavior that I'd been explaining away. The phone calls that ended when I walked into the room, the new clothes that appeared in her closet, the way she'd started working late 3 nights a week, always with vague explanations about client meetings and networking events. I'm not a suspicious person by nature. I'm the guy who believes people when they tell me they're stuck in traffic, who assumes good intentions until proven otherwise. But I'm also a professional observer. I make my living noticing details, capturing moments that tell stories. And the story my marriage had been telling lately wasn't the one Isla was narrating. My phone buzzed. A text from Mason, my best friend and the owner of O'Malley's, the bar where I spent most Friday nights. "Heard Isla's going to Paradise with Prince Charming. You okay?" I stared at the message. How did Mason know about the trip already? Isla had just told me an hour ago. I called him. "How the hell do you know about the Maldives?" I asked when he picked up. Sienna posted about it on Instagram. Something about living vicariously through her bestie's glamorous work life. Posted a picture of plane tickets and tagged Isla. Sienna was Isla's best friend, a social media influencer who documented her breakfast choices like they were breaking news. If she was posting about the trip, it meant Isla had been planning this for more than the casual, just came up timeline she'd given me. "Dean, man, I probably shouldn't say this, but say it. Last week, when you were working that wedding in Portland, Isla was at the bar. With Jasper, they were close, like sitting in the same booth, talking real quiet, touching each other's hands kind of close. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Why didn't you tell me?" Because I hoped I was wrong. Because maybe they were just talking business. Because I didn't want to be the guy who blew up his best friend's marriage over a maybe. After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my house and tried to decide what to do with the information. Part of me wanted to confront Isla directly, to demand explanations and ultimatums. But a bigger part, the part that made me good at my job, wanted to observe first, to gather evidence, to understand the full story before I acted. I opened my laptop and logged into our shared cloud storage account. Isla and I had been using it for years to share photos and documents. It was supposed to sync automatically between our devices, but Isla had never been great with technology. She often forgot that her photos uploaded to the shared folder. What I found there made my coffee taste like ash. Photos from the past 2 months. Isla and Jasper at restaurants I didn't recognize. Isla wearing the new dress I'd complimented her on, sitting across from Jasper in what was clearly an intimate dinner setting. A selfie of them at some rooftop bar, her head on his shoulder, both of them laughing. And then, the one that made everything crystal clear. A photo taken 3 days ago of Isla's hand wearing a bracelet I'd never seen before, resting on top of a man's hand. The timestamp showed it was taken at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Isla had told me she was in client meetings all Tuesday afternoon. I scrolled through more photos. Screenshots of text conversations between Isla and someone saved in her phone as J, with heart emojis. Fragments I could read made my stomach turn. Can't wait for Thursday. Dean doesn't suspect anything. This will be perfect. The last photo was a screenshot of flight confirmations. 2 tickets to Maldives. Departure Thursday, return Tuesday. But here's what made my hands shake. The booking confirmation showed only 2 passengers. Not 4, not a team, just Isla and Jasper. I closed the laptop and walked to the window. Outside, Seattle was doing its usual October thing, gray sky threatening rain, people hurrying down the sidewalk with their heads down. Normal people living normal lives, probably not discovering their spouses were planning romantic getaways with their exes. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this Dean Calix? Yeah, who's this? This is Elara Trennix, Jasper's wife. I think we need to talk. My heart started beating faster. About what? About what our spouses are really doing in the Maldives. Can you meet me somewhere private? I have some things you need to see. Elara suggested we meet at Grind Coffee, a small place in Capitol Hill that was usually crowded enough to provide privacy through noise. I arrived first and claimed a corner table, ordering a black coffee I didn't want, and trying to look like someone having a normal Tuesday afternoon instead of someone whose marriage was imploding in real time. She walked in exactly on time, and I was struck by how different she seemed from the quiet woman I remembered from dinner parties. This version of Elara moved with purpose, her dark hair pulled back severely, wearing a black coat that made her look like she was attending a funeral. Maybe she was. Dean, she said, sliding into the chair across from me. Thank you for meeting me. How did you get my number? Isla's Instagram. She tagged you in a post last month. I found your business page from there. She pulled out her phone and set it on the table between us. I'm going to show you some things, but first I need to know. How much do you actually know? I know they're not going to the Maldives with a marketing team, I said. I know they've been seeing each other for at least 2 months. I know Isla lied to me about the nature of this trip. Elara nodded slowly. What you don't know is that this isn't Jasper's first affair, or his second, or his 5th. She unlocked her phone and turned it toward me. I've been documenting his extracurricular activities for the past year. What she showed me was a masterclass in methodical evidence gathering, screenshots of credit card statements showing charges at hotels during times when Jasper claimed to be working late, photos of him entering and leaving apartment buildings that didn't belong to anyone in his professional circle, email confirmations for romantic dinners, weekend getaways, and jewelry purchases that never made it home to Elara. Jesus, I said. How long has this been going on? The cheating? Since about 6 months after we got married. The documentation? Since I finally got smart enough to stop believing his lies. She scrolled to a folder labeled Isla C. Your wife is just his latest project, but she might be the most serious one. The photos in Isla's folder told a story I hadn't wanted to believe. Jasper and Isla leaving the same hotel within minutes of each other. Isla wearing expensive jewelry that definitely wasn't in our budget. Screenshots of Venmo payments from Jasper to Isla for amounts that seemed too large for business consulting. The Maldives trip, Elara continued, is being paid for entirely by Jasper's company credit card. But according to the expense reports I have access to, I handle the books for his business, it's being classified as a client development retreat. The only problem is that Isla's company isn't a client. They're not even a potential client. I felt like I was watching a movie about someone else's life. You handle his books? I'm not just his wife, Dean. I'm his business partner, 50% owner of Trennix Innovations, which means I have access to everything: bank accounts, credit cards, business expenses, email servers. She smiled, and it wasn't a nice expression. Jasper never was very good at reading the fine print. So what do you want to do about it? I want to destroy them both. Professionally, socially, financially. I want them to understand that actions have consequences. She leaned forward. The question is, do we wait for them to come back from their little vacation and confront them then? Or do we have some fun while they're gone? I thought about Isla's face that morning, the practiced casualness of her lie, the way she'd dismissed my concerns like I was being unreasonable. I thought about 8 years of marriage, of supporting her dreams and ambitions, of believing her stories and trusting her explanations. Wait, I said, not a chance. Elara's smile became genuine for the first time since she'd sat down. Good, because I have a plan. She pulled out a tablet and opened what looked like a business presentation. Isla's company, Wanderlust PR, has very strict policies about conflicts of interest and undisclosed relationships with business partners. If they found out she was having an affair with someone she's been billing as a client, she'd be fired immediately. How do you know about their policies? Because I read their employee handbook. It's publicly available on their website. She swiped to the next slide. Jasper's company is privately held, but they're currently seeking Series B funding. Their investors are very conservative, very family values oriented. A scandal right now would tank their chances. You want to expose them? I want to expose them strategically. Maximum damage, minimum blowback on us. She showed me a list of contacts. Isla's boss, Sorel Martinez. The 3 investors Jasper's been courting. The travel blogger who's been featuring Wanderlust PR's campaigns. Sienna, Isla's best friend who loves drama but hates being lied to. I stared at the list. This is comprehensive. I've had time to plan. The question is, are you ready to go nuclear, or do you want to try couples counseling? I thought about the photos on our shared cloud, about Isla's dismissive tone when she told me not to be jealous, about the way she'd been treating me like an inconvenience in my own marriage. What do you need me to do? First, we need more evidence. Real-time proof that they're together in the Maldives, not with any marketing team. Isla's probably going to post on social media, but she'll be careful about what she shows. She's not as careful as she thinks she is. Our photos sync automatically to a shared cloud account. If she takes pictures, I'll see them. Perfect. Second, we need to coordinate our timing. I'm filing for divorce on Friday, but I want to make sure Isla's professional life implodes first. If she gets fired before she comes home, she'll have no income and no leverage in your divorce. You've really thought this through. Dean, I've been married to a serial cheater for 4 years. I've had plenty of time to think. She closed the tablet and looked at me directly. Are you sure you want to do this? Once we start, there's no going back. This isn't just about ending marriages. It's about ending their careers, their reputations, their social lives. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot I'd found of Isla's text messages, the one where she'd written, "Dean doesn't suspect anything." They made their choice, I said. Now they get to live with the consequences. Elara extended her hand across the table. Partners? Partners. As we shook hands, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. A sense of purpose. For too long, I'd been a passive observer in my own life, letting Isla make decisions and set directions while I followed along. Now, finally, I was going to take some control back. One more thing, Elara said as we prepared to leave. I have a contact at the resort where they're staying. Someone who can confirm they're sharing a room, document their activities, maybe even provide some photographic evidence. How do you have a contact at a resort in the Maldives? I designed the interiors for their Seattle location 2 years ago. The general manager owes me a favor. She stood up and put on her coat. Like I said, Dean, I've had time to plan. As I watched her walk away, I realized I'd seriously underestimated Elara Trennix. Jasper and Isla thought they were playing games with people who would just accept their betrayal quietly. They were about to learn how wrong they were. My phone buzzed with a text from Isla. At the airport. So excited for this opportunity. Love you. I typed back, have fun. Take lots of pictures. She had no idea how much I meant it. Thursday morning, I woke up to 17 new photos in our shared cloud folder. Isla had apparently decided to document every moment of her business trip, starting with airport selfies and first-class champagne. What she hadn't realized was that location services were enabled on her phone, so every photo came with GPS coordinates that told a very specific story. The first photo was time-stamped 6:47 a.m. at SeaTac Airport. Isla alone, holding a coffee cup, captioned, "Off to work." But the second photo, taken just 3 minutes later, showed 2 champagne glasses on a first-class tray table. The reflection in the airplane window clearly showed Jasper sitting next to her. I forwarded the photos to Elara with a message. "Evidence package 1 delivered." She responded immediately. "Perfect. My contact at the resort confirmed they checked in as Mr. and Mrs. Trennix. Honeymoon suite. While Isla was flying to paradise with her boyfriend, I was sitting in my home office preparing for war. Elara had sent me a detailed timeline of our plan, and today was phase 1, professional destruction. At exactly 9 a.m., I sent an email to Sorel Martinez, Isla's boss at Wanderlust PR. The subject line was Conflict of Interest Disclosure, Isla Corvan. "Dear Ms. Martinez," I wrote, "I'm writing to inform you of a potential violation of your company's ethics policies. My wife, Isla Corvan, is currently in the Maldives with Jasper Trennix, CEO of Trennix Innovations. While this trip has been represented as a business collaboration, evidence suggests it is personal in nature and that Ms. Corvan has failed to disclose her intimate relationship with Mr. Trennix. Attached are photos and documentation supporting this claim. As her husband, I felt obligated to bring this to your attention. I attached a carefully curated selection of photos from our cloud folder, including the ones showing Isla and Jasper at intimate dinners and the screenshot of their text messages. Nothing that would get me in legal trouble, but enough to raise serious questions about Isla's professional judgment." The second email went to James Morrison, the lead investor in Jasper's Series B funding round. Elara had provided his contact information along with some background. Morrison was a conservative Christian who'd built his fortune in family-friendly entertainment companies. He did not approve of moral flexibility in his business partners. "Mr. Morrison," I wrote, "I'm reaching out regarding your potential investment in Trennix Innovations. I believe you should be aware that CEO Jasper Trennix is currently engaged in an extramarital affair that could pose significant reputational risks to your investment. Mr. Trennix is married, but is currently vacationing in the Maldives with his mistress, using company funds to finance the trip. Documentation attached." By 10 a.m., I'd sent similar emails to the other 2 investors, the travel blogger who'd been featuring Wanderlust PR, and 3 major brands that had recently signed contracts with Isla's company. My phone rang. Elara. "Phase 1 deployed," I reported. "Same here. I just sent Jasper's expense reports to the company's board of directors with a note about potential misuse of corporate funds. I also forwarded everything to our accountant and our lawyer. Think it'll work? Dean, I've seen companies fire people for posting inappropriate memes on Facebook. What Isla and Jasper are doing is a fireable offense at any reputable company." She paused. "How are you holding up?" "Honestly, I feel better than I have in months. I'm finally doing something instead of just accepting whatever Isla decides to do to our marriage. Good, because we're just getting started." The first response came at 11:30 a.m. Sorel Martinez called my cell phone directly. "Mr. Calix, this is Sorel Martinez from Wanderlust PR. I received your email this morning, and I need to ask you some questions." "Of course." "Are you certain about the nature of your wife's relationship with Mr. Trennix?" "I have photos of them together dating back 2 months, credit card records showing purchases I didn't authorize, and text messages where she explicitly discusses hiding their relationship from me. Yes, I'm certain." There was a long pause. "Mr. Calix, I want you to know that Wanderlust PR takes conflicts of interest very seriously. If what you're telling me is accurate, Ms. Corvan has violated several company policies. What happens now? I'm going to need to conduct a formal investigation. In the meantime, I'm suspending Ms. Corvan's access to company accounts and placing her on administrative leave pending review." After I hung up, I sat back in my chair and smiled. Isla was probably on a beach right now, posting Instagram stories about her amazing work trip, completely unaware that her career was being systematically dismantled. My phone buzzed with a text from Mason. "Dude, did you see Sienna's Instagram story? She's posting about Isla living her best life in paradise. Looks pretty romantic for a business trip." I checked Sienna's account. She'd reposted several of Isla's stories, adding her own commentary. "When your bestie gets to work in paradise, living vicariously through Isla Corvan right now. Work life, your blessed fate Maldives." But Sienna had also posted something Isla probably didn't expect, a screenshot of their text conversation from that morning. In it, Isla had written, "OMG, Sienna, this place is incredible. Jasper really knows how to treat a girl right. Don't post anything too obvious, though. You know how Dean gets." I screenshot Sienna's story and sent it to Elara with a message. Isla just gave us more ammunition. Perfect, she replied, because I just heard back from Morrison's office. He's pulling out of the investment deal and recommending the other investors do the same. By 2 p.m., the dominoes were falling faster than we'd anticipated. Sorel Martinez called again to inform me that Isla had been terminated effective immediately. 2 of the brands that worked with Wanderlust PR had called to express concerns about their contracts. The travel blogger had posted a cryptic Instagram story about influencers who forget they're supposed to be professional. But the best news came from Elara at 3:47 p.m. Jasper's board just called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning. They're discussing his removal as CEO. That fast? Apparently Morrison wasn't quiet about why he was pulling his investment. Word got around that Jasper was using company money to fund affairs. The board is not happy. I was starting to understand why Elara had been so confident about our plan. She hadn't just been gathering evidence for a year. She'd been studying the pressure points, identifying exactly where to apply force for maximum damage. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize, but the area code was international. Hello? Dean? It was Isla, and she sounded panicked. Dean, what the hell is happening? I just got a call from Sorel saying I'm fired. She's saying something about a conflict of interest violation and inappropriate conduct. I don't understand what's going on. I took a deep breath. This was the moment I'd been both dreading and anticipating. I know about Jasper, I said quietly. Silence. Isla, I know about the affair. I know this isn't a business trip. I know you've been lying to me for months. Dean, I can explain. No, you can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay. You chose to have an affair with your ex-boyfriend. You chose to lie to me about it. You chose to use company resources to fund your romantic getaway. Now you get to deal with the consequences. You got me fired? Her voice was rising. You destroyed my career because you're jealous? I didn't destroy anything, Isla. You did. I just made sure the right people knew about it. Dean, please, we can work this out. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. No, we can't. I'll have divorce papers ready when you get home. Don't bother coming to the house. I'm changing the locks tomorrow. I hung up before she could respond. 10 minutes later, Elara called. Jasper just called me screaming, she said, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. Apparently Isla told him what happened, and he's figured out that we're working together. He's threatening to sue us for defamation. Can he do that? He can try. But everything we've shared is documented fact. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, she laughed. Besides, he's going to be too busy looking for a new job to worry about lawsuits. As I sat in my quiet house that evening, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. For months, I'd been living with the nagging sense that something was wrong, that I was being lied to and manipulated. Now finally, the truth was out, and I was taking action instead of just accepting whatever Isla decided to do. My phone buzzed with one final message of the day from Elara. Phase 2 tomorrow. Are you ready? I typed back, bring it on. Outside, Seattle was having one of its rare, clear evenings, the kind where you can see Mount Rainier in the distance. I opened a beer, sat on my back porch, and watched the sunset. Tomorrow, Isla and Jasper would fly home to discover that their perfect little affair had cost them everything. I couldn't wait. Friday morning brought chaos. I woke up to 43 missed calls, 67 text messages, and an inbox full of emails from people I hadn't heard from in years. Apparently, word of Isla and Jasper's spectacular downfall had spread through our social circle like wildfire. The first call I returned was from Mason. Holy shit, Dean, he said when he picked up. Did you really get Isla fired while she was in the Maldives? I informed her employer about her conflict of interest. They made their own decision. Dude, you're ice cold. I respect that. He paused. Also, Sienna's been calling here looking for you. She's freaking out because Isla's been blowing up her phone all night, and apparently some reporter contacted her asking about Isla's relationship with Jasper. What reporter? Someone from Seattle Business Journal. They're doing a story about Jasper's company imploding. I felt a cold spike of concern. Elara and I had been careful to keep our revenge focused on professional consequences, but media attention could complicate things. I called her immediately. Did you talk to any reporters? I asked when she answered. No, but I'm not surprised they're calling. Jasper's company was pretty high profile in the tech scene here. When a CEO gets fired for embezzling company funds to pay for affairs, that's news. He got fired? This morning. Emergency board meeting at 8 a.m. They voted unanimously to terminate him for cause, which means he forfeits his equity stake and severance package. She sounded positively cheerful. He's also being investigated for potential criminal charges related to misuse of corporate funds. Jesus, are we going to get dragged into that? Dean, we didn't make Jasper steal company money to fund his affairs. We just made sure the right people knew about it. Everything we did was legal and justified. She was right, but I was starting to understand the magnitude of what we'd unleashed. This wasn't just about ending marriages anymore. We'd destroyed 2 careers and potentially opened criminal investigations. My doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see a woman in a business suit holding a microphone with a cameraman behind her. There's a news crew at my door, I told Elara. Don't talk to them. Refer them to your lawyer if you have one. This will blow over in a few days, but anything you say on camera will live forever. I ignored the doorbell and went to my home office to check our shared cloud folder. Isla had uploaded new photos overnight, and they told a story of complete panic. Screenshots of her trying to book an early flight home, photos of her laptop screen showing her locked-out work accounts, a picture of Jasper on the phone looking furious and defeated. But the most revealing photo was one she'd probably uploaded by accident, a screenshot of a text conversation with someone labeled Mom. In it, Isla had written, "Everything's falling apart. Dean found out about Jasper and got me fired. I don't know what to do. Can I come stay with you?" Her mother's response was brutal. "Isla Marie, I raised you better than this. You made your bed, now you have to lie in it. Don't come crying to me because you decided to throw away a good marriage for some fantasy." I forwarded the screenshot to Elara with a message. Even her own mother isn't supporting her. "That's what happens when you bet everything on a man who was never going to leave his wife," Elara replied. "Speaking of which, I have news. My lawyer filed the divorce papers this morning, and we're requesting an emergency hearing to freeze all assets pending investigation of Jasper's financial misconduct." What does that mean? It means Jasper can't access any of our joint accounts, can't sell any property, can't transfer money overseas. He's essentially broke until the courts sort out how much of our money he stole to fund his affairs. The scope of Elara's planning was becoming clearer. She hadn't just been gathering evidence of Jasper's infidelity, she'd been building a comprehensive case for financial fraud. While I'd been focused on the emotional betrayal, she'd been documenting a pattern of criminal behavior. My phone rang. Isla again. "Dean, please, I'm begging you. I need to come home. They're saying I can't change my flight, and I don't have enough money for a new ticket." "That sounds like a you problem." "Dean, don't be cruel. I know I messed up, but I'm stranded here. Jasper's credit cards got canceled, and my company card is frozen. I need help." "Call your mother. I hear she's very understanding about your situation." "You read my private messages?" "Isla, we share a cloud account. You uploaded them yourself." I paused. "Besides, after months of lying to me, I don't think you get to lecture me about privacy." "Fine, I'll figure it out myself. But Dean, please don't let this get any worse. The reporters are calling everyone we know. Sienna's getting harassed on social media. This is affecting innocent people." "You should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be fun. It wasn't supposed to hurt anyone. But it did hurt someone. It hurt me. And now you get to deal with the consequences." After I hung up, I sat in my office thinking about Isla's words. It was supposed to be fun. That's how she'd always approached life, as a series of experiences to be consumed, consequences to be dealt with later or ignored entirely. She'd never considered that her fun might come at someone else's expense. Elara called an hour later with an update that made me smile. Jasper just tried to withdraw money from our joint savings account to buy plane tickets home. The bank informed him that all accounts are frozen pending legal review. He's stuck in the Maldives with no money and no way home until his lawyer can sort this out. How long will that take? Could be weeks, maybe longer if the criminal investigation moves forward. She paused. "Dean, I want you to know something. This isn't just about revenge for me. Jasper has been stealing from our business for years, using company money to fund his affairs and personal expenses. What we've done isn't just morally justified, it's legally necessary. I'm starting to realize that you're a lot more strategic than I gave you credit for." I had to be. Jasper always thought he was the smartest person in the room, but he never paid attention to details. He never read contracts carefully, never checked what access I had to business accounts, never considered that his quiet little wife might be documenting everything. Her voice hardened. He underestimated me. They both did. That evening, I met Mason at his bar for what felt like the first normal conversation I'd had in days. The news crews had finally left my neighborhood, and the initial media frenzy was fading as other stories took precedence. "So what's next?" Mason asked, sliding a beer across the bar. "Divorce proceedings?" "Isla can't even afford a lawyer right now. Her company fired her for cause, so no severance. Her credit cards are maxed out from funding her affair. She's basically starting from zero." I took a sip of beer. "My lawyer says the divorce should be pretty straightforward. No kids, and most of our assets are in my name anyway. What about the house? She's not on the mortgage. I bought it before we got married and never added her to the deed. I smiled. Turns out my paranoia about mixing finances was good planning. Mason shook his head. I still can't believe she thought she could get away with it. Having an affair is one thing, but using company money? That's just stupid. Elara thinks Jasper convinced Isla that he was going to leave his wife and they'd be together. Isla probably thought she was investing in her future with him. And now? Now Jasper's broke, unemployed, and facing potential criminal charges. Not exactly the Prince Charming Isla thought she was getting. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Jasper. We need to talk. What you and Elara did was illegal, and I'm going to sue you for everything you have. I showed the message to Mason, who laughed. Guy's got balls, I'll give him that. He's the one who committed fraud, and he's threatening to sue you? I typed back, talk to my lawyer, and maybe focus on finding a way home from paradise. As I sat in the familiar comfort of Mason's bar, surrounded by the normal sounds of people having normal Friday night conversations, I reflected on how much my life had changed in just 1 week. 7 days ago, I'd been the guy who suspected his wife was cheating but was too afraid to confront it. Now I was the guy who'd systematically destroyed 2 careers and ended 2 marriages. I should have felt guilty. I should have felt like I'd gone too far, been too cruel, caused too much collateral damage. Instead, I felt free. For the first time in months, I wasn't wondering what Isla was really doing when she said she was working late. I wasn't analyzing her text messages for hidden meanings or trying to decode her moods. I wasn't walking on eggshells in my own house, afraid to ask questions that might lead to uncomfortable answers. The truth was out. The lies were over. And tomorrow, I could start building a life based on reality instead of whatever fantasy Isla had been selling me. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Elara. Jasper's lawyer called. They want to negotiate a settlement to avoid criminal charges. Apparently, being stuck in the Maldives with no money has given him some perspective on his situation. I typed back, what kind of settlement? Full restitution of stolen funds plus damages. In exchange, I won't press charges for embezzlement. A pause, then. Also, he has to pay for their plane tickets home. Seems like the least he can do. I laughed out loud, earning a curious look from Mason. Good news? He asked. The best, I said, raising my beer. Here's to consequences finally catching up with the people who deserve them. I'll drink to that. As we clinked glasses, I realized this wasn't just the end of my marriage. It was the beginning of the rest of my life. And for the first time in years, I was looking forward to what came next. The final confrontation came on a Tuesday, exactly 1 week after Isla and Jasper had returned from their disastrous trip to paradise. They'd managed to scrape together enough money for economy tickets home, but only after Jasper's lawyer had negotiated the settlement with Elara and transferred funds to cover their travel expenses. I'd spent the week moving forward with my life in ways that felt surreal after months of stagnation. I'd filed for divorce, changed the locks on the house, and even booked a consultation with a real estate agent about selling and starting fresh somewhere new. For the first time in years, I was making decisions based on what I wanted rather than what Isla expected, but Isla and Jasper weren't ready to accept their new reality. The confrontation started with a phone call from Sienna, Isla's best friend, who'd been trying to play mediator since the story broke. Dean, Isla wants to meet with you. She says she has something important to tell you, something that changes everything. There's nothing she can say that would change anything, Sienna. She says Jasper lied to her. She says she didn't know he was stealing company money, and she wants to make things right. I almost laughed. Now she wants to make things right? After lying to me for months, having an affair, and trying to use company resources to fund her romantic getaway? Dean, please, just meet with her. One conversation. If you still want the divorce after that, fine, but give her a chance to explain. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet Isla at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory, public location, witnesses if things got ugly. I arrived early and chose a table near the window, partly for the natural light and partly because I wanted to be able to leave quickly if necessary. Isla walked in looking like a different person than the confident woman who'd announced her Maldives trip 2 weeks earlier. She'd lost weight, her hair was unkempt, and she was wearing clothes I recognized as being at least 2 years old. The designer outfits that had appeared in her closet over the past few months were apparently gone, probably sold to pay for basic expenses. Dean, she said, sliding into the chair across from me. Thank you for meeting me. You have 10 minutes. I know you hate me right now, and I understand why, but I need you to know that I never meant for any of this to happen. You never meant to have an affair? I never meant for it to go this far. It started as just flirting. Jasper reached out to me about a potential business collaboration, and we started having coffee meetings to discuss it. It felt good to be around someone who appreciated my ideas, who treated me like I was smart and capable. I stared at her. Are you seriously trying to blame me for your affair? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that somewhere along the way, the business meetings became personal, and I got caught up in the excitement of it. Jasper made me feel like I was special, like I was worth investing in. And I didn't? Dean, when was the last time you asked me about my work? When was the last time you seemed genuinely interested in my goals and ambitions? Her voice was rising. You treated me like I was a hobby you'd gotten bored with. So you decided to have an affair instead of talking to me about it. I made a mistake, a huge, terrible mistake. But Dean, I didn't know about the company money. I thought Jasper was paying for everything personally. If I'd known he was embezzling funds, you would have done it anyway. You would have found a way to justify it, because that's what you do, Isla. You make decisions based on what you want in the moment, and then you figure out how to explain them later. She was quiet for a moment, staring at her hands. When she looked up, there were tears in her eyes. I lost everything, Dean. My job, my reputation, my friends. Sienna won't even talk to me anymore because she's getting harassed online for defending me. My own mother told me I deserved what happened. You did deserve what happened. I know I did. But Dean, I'm asking you to forgive me. Not because I deserve it, but because we had 8 good years before this. Because we built a life together, and that has to count for something. I looked at her across the table and tried to remember why I'd fallen in love with her in the first place. She'd been ambitious and confident, full of plans and dreams that seemed achievable when she talked about them. But somewhere along the way, her ambition had become entitlement, her confidence had become arrogance, and her dreams had become excuses for treating other people as obstacles to be overcome. Isla, I said quietly, the woman I married wouldn't have had an affair with her ex-boyfriend. The woman I married wouldn't have lied to me for months while she planned a romantic getaway with another man. The woman I married wouldn't have tried to blame me for her choices. I stood up. I don't know who you are anymore, but you're not the person I fell in love with. Dean, wait. No, we're done. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce proceedings. I walked out of the coffee shop and didn't look back, but that wasn't the end of it. 2 hours later, I was at home editing a wedding video when my doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Jasper standing on my front porch, and he didn't look like he was there for a friendly conversation. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. You destroyed my life based on lies and jealousy. Elara fed you a bunch of bullshit about me stealing company money, and you believed it because you wanted an excuse to hurt me. Jasper, your own company's board of directors fired you after reviewing the evidence. Your own lawyers negotiated a settlement to avoid criminal charges. This isn't about jealousy, it's about consequences. You think you're so smart, don't you? You and Elara, plotting against us like we're the villains in some movie. But you know what? Isla was miserable with you. She told me how boring you were, how you never supported her ambitions, how you made her feel like she was wasting her potential. I felt anger rising in my chest, but I kept my voice level. Is that supposed to hurt my feelings? Because honestly, if Isla was that unhappy, she should have asked for a divorce instead of having an affair. She was trying to protect you. She knew you couldn't handle the truth about how she really felt. The truth? You want to talk about truth? I pulled out my phone and opened our shared cloud folder. Here's the truth, Jasper. Screenshots of your text messages where you called me a pathetic loser and promised Isla you'd take care of her financially and emotionally. Photos of the jewelry you bought her with company credit cards. Credit card statements showing charges at hotels during your business meetings. His face went pale as I scrolled through the evidence. Here's my personal favorite, I continued, stopping at a screenshot of a text conversation between Isla and Jasper. This is from 3 weeks ago, where you told her that once you got divorced, you'd buy her a house in California and she'd never have to work again. Except now you're unemployed and broke, so I guess that plan didn't work out. You had no right to spy on us. I didn't spy on anyone. Isla uploaded all of this to our shared cloud account herself. She was so excited about her secret relationship that she documented everything. I smiled. You two really aren't as smart as you think you are. Jasper stepped closer, and for a moment I thought he might try to hit me. Instead, he pointed a finger at my chest and said, "This isn't over. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of vindictive asshole you really are. Go ahead. Tell everyone how the vindictive asshole exposed your affair and embezzlement. I'm sure that will really improve your reputation." He stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked back to his car, a 10-year-old Honda that was apparently all he could afford now that his Tesla had been repossessed. As I watched him drive away, I realized that this was probably the last time I'd see either Jasper or Isla. They'd become footnotes in my life story, cautionary tales about what happens when people prioritize short-term gratification over long-term consequences. That evening, Elara called with a final update. Jasper signed the settlement agreement today. Full restitution plus damages. And he's agreed to a restraint order that prevents him from contacting either of us for the next 5 years. What about Isla? What about her? She wasn't part of the embezzlement, so she's not part of the settlement. She's just someone who made very bad choices and has to live with the results. I saw her today. She wanted to reconcile. And I told her we were done. There's no coming back from what she did. Good. Dean, I want you to know that working with you these past 2 weeks has been therapeutic. For the first time in years, I felt like I had some control over my life. What's next for you? I'm keeping the business. Turns out when your partner gets fired for embezzlement, his equity stake gets redistributed to the remaining partners. I'm also keeping the house, the cars, and most of our investments. She paused. I'm thinking about taking a vacation, somewhere tropical, somewhere I can actually enjoy myself instead of wondering what my husband is doing behind my back. That sounds perfect. What about you? I looked around my house, not our house anymore, and thought about the possibilities. For the first time in years, I could make decisions based entirely on what I wanted. I could travel, move to a different city, focus on my work, maybe even start dating again when I was ready. I'm thinking about a change of scenery too, I said. Maybe Portland or San Francisco, somewhere I can start fresh. Dean, can I ask you something? Do you regret what we did? Any of it? I thought about the question seriously. We'd destroyed 2 careers, ended 2 marriages, and caused a significant amount of collateral damage to friends and family members who'd gotten caught in the crossfire. By any objective measure, our revenge had been disproportionate to the original offense. But then I thought about the months I'd spent wondering if I was losing my mind, questioning my own perceptions, accepting lies because the truth was too painful to confront. I thought about Isla's dismissive tone when she told me not to be jealous, about Jasper's smug confidence that he could steal my wife and my dignity without consequences. No, I said finally. I don't regret any of it. They made choices, and we made sure those choices had appropriate consequences. If they didn't want their lives destroyed, they shouldn't have built those lives on lies and theft. I'm glad you feel that way, because I don't regret it either. After we hung up, I opened a beer and sat on my back porch watching the sunset. Tomorrow, I'd start making plans for the next chapter of my life. I'd call the real estate agent, start researching new cities, maybe even book a vacation of my own. But tonight, I was just going to sit here and enjoy the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. Isla and Jasper had thought they could play games with people's lives and emotions without facing any real consequences. They'd thought they were smarter and more sophisticated than the people they were betraying. They'd learned otherwise. In the distance, I could hear the sound of a plane taking off from SeaTac Airport. Someone else heading to paradise, probably with better intentions and cleaner consciences than my ex-wife and her boyfriend had managed. I raised my beer to the sky in a silent toast. Here's to new beginnings, honest relationships, and the beautiful simplicity of a life lived without lies.